Stainless tubing and shielded cable are used to interconnect the previously installed pump system and all the remote stations. In most cases, the tubing and cable will be run overhead. With the tubing path determined, measure and cut the tubing to length. Make a line on the tubing 5/8 of an inch from the end. When the line reaches the compression nut and you feel the tubing bottom out, you'll know the tubing is fully inserted. We're marking this nut for a visual example. Tighten the compression nut 1 1/4 turns past finger tight. Bend the tubing with a 3/8 inch tubing bender for a clean, custom fit. Place fittings and assemble the connections. Tighten the compression nut at each connection 1 1/4 turns past finger tight. Make sure the tubing is fully inserted. Drill or cut holes for routing tubing and shielded cable, and complete connections to all remote stations. Tubing and cable from a remote station tease into the system at the nearest or most convenient point. Run the shielded control cable and attach it to the tubing. Leave an extra 12 inches of cable at each tee for cable splicing. Strip 5 inches of cable jacket and foil shielding from each cable, exposing the wires. Strip each of the wires back 1/2 inch, including the blue wire, so it can be used in a future application. Bundle the cables and connect light-colored wires of all the cables together, red to red, white to white, and so on. Cable shield drain wires must be connected together also. With all the wire nuts in place, tape each connection to reduce moisture exposure and hold the wire nuts firmly. Bundle the connected wires to the cable and secure to a branch of the tubing. Foam tube insulation is used to minimize heat loss if hot water is used and reduce vibration. Split the foam and slide it over the stainless tubing and shielded cable. Tape the foam every 2 to 3 feet to hold it in place. Anchor the insulated tubing and cable with appropriate hardware. Long overhead runs can be easily made with the temporary use of zip ties. Position the zip tie so it makes a large loop for the tubing and cable to slide through. When making a long run with the tubing and cable, run them at the same time. This will save time. Foam insulation can be slipped over the end of the tubing and cable as it is being run. Anchor the insulated tubing and cable every 2 feet with appropriate hardware. Here we're using self-tapping screws. Once all the tubing and cable are in place, connect the shielded cable into the master control panel. Pull the cable through the watertight connector located in the upper left corner on the side of the master control panel. 1/4 inch push-on connectors are provided on the terminal block. You'll need to remove these so they can be attached to the cable. Strip 10 inches of cable jacket and foil shielding from the cable, exposing the wires. Inside the master control panel, you will find a diagram with a piece of small diameter tubing attached to it. The diagram will show you where to connect the shielded cable. Be careful that all wire colors are matched. The tubing will be used to prevent the drain wire from shorting to one or more of the circuits in the master control panel. Prepare the shield drain wire by sliding the insulating tubing over the drain wire. Once the drain wire has been insulated, crimp the ring terminal to it. Cut the colored wires to a length of 5 inches. This will provide you with enough wire to easily make connections in the master control panel without an excessive amount of wire inside the enclosure. Strip each of the wires back 1/2 inch, except for the blue wire, since it will not be used at this time. The blue wire can be wrapped around the shielded cable for now. 1/4-inch push-on connectors you remove from the terminal block are to be attached to the colored wires. With all the connectors attached, adjust the cable length inside the enclosure. Connect the shielded cable drain wire to the ground terminal. Failure to ground the shield drain wire at the remote stations and at the master control panel may result in intermittent operation of the system. Connect the cable to the terminal block, ensuring wires are matched with like colors. With all the shielded cable connections made, tighten the watertight fitting on the cable to prevent moisture from entering the enclosure. Now you know how to install the stainless steel tubing and shielded cable.